Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here. This is the second episode of the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game 2nd edition that we're running right now, the Sartosa campaign. If you haven't seen episode 1, you're probably going to have no idea what's going on, so I would highly recommend you go back and watch it. For those of you who are watching it, unfortunately, I was not able to be there for the very beginning of the session, so there is a bit of a piece missing, so to speak. All that's really missing, though, is that basically after the player characters were brought aboard the Wind Serpent after completing last session, they essentially were required to find and acquire, through any means necessary, a apple, which they had the ability to try and steal it or bargain for it or what have you, and they all kind of did their own ways of getting it. And once they had all the apples, that's where I was able to be there, and we got the session started. So you barely missed anything, and it's easy to pick up on what happened. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the session. Have a great day. Bye. Oh, real quick, if you're wondering where the music is, I had to turn all the music off because I got copyright flagged last time, and don't want that to happen again. So if you want to have background music, be sure to look up your own and just make sure it's soft enough that you can hear everybody talking. And other than that, important songs like those Zelene sings, I'll put in the comment section below. Alright, enjoy the video.
I introduced them to the code, and the various characters introduced them to their Apple Quest, and they all completed except for Tordain, who was just begrudgingly given one, but lost rep on it. Whereas the others actually all managed to get their apples. That said, Strasslaith owes the halfling Laszlo a favor at some point in the future.
Okay.
She owes him a secret in particular. And Zelene has actually told the halfling that she's the adopted daughter of the Prince of Poisons.
Oh, okay. Wow, they're really telling him things they shouldn't.
I know. So the halflings get pretty happy about now. Margal is way ahead in the rep meter. He managed to get 2 apples because he offered to trade that chest that he carried back with him for an apple.
The empty chest?
Yeah, but it's still a quality chest.
I know, I'm just... Okay.
And Gustav accepted that trade.
Okay.
That said, I told them that not to take my characterization perfectly seriously, because some of them are your characters. So I let them know that some of the characterization might shift back once you get here.
Okay.
That said, Gustav is super suspicious of Strasslaith now, because she kind of implied that she can do magic.
That's a weird thing to imply, but alright.
Yeah, well, she was using the word spell casually when he was being suspicious about her being an elf and using spells.
Okay, so they're about to do the...
They're about to do the hazing. They're about to feed the serpent.
Okay, and then after that is the trading stories?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
So they're about to do the hazing, and then, yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, any of your characters, not a whole lot. Garg was generic ogre-like. Oh, and the cook is confident that Laszlo has stolen his almonds, which he has.
Okay.
And Strasslaith knows this and might seek out some proof to gain favor with the cook.
Okay. Did they have any dealings with the quartermaster?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I don't feel ready to do the encounter at the beach yet, but I think we can do everything to set up for the encounter at the beach.
Okay.
There's some more. I want to make it trickier than it currently is. Right now, it's a little bit too tank and spank.
Okay.
So we'll go up until that point.
All right, sounds good to me.
All right, we can hop back up then. I will let you head the hazing thing because I can't exactly remember how it's going to go, but I should be able to weave back into it.
It's also Rescon is kind of leading the group in that, so that's fine.
I know. Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
User left your channel switched.
All right. So, Rascon says to the group, "All right, well, now all of you have your apples," and he gives Tordain a dirty look. And he says, "So who's up first?"
I'll go.
Very well. Step forward.
I do.
Hand me your apple.
I toss him back the apple that he just gave me.
Arms at your sides.
I do.
And a sailor comes up and begins tying rope around you.
Also, hello everyone.
Hello, Sotek.
You're here for my brainchild now.
Your brainchild.
I think what happens next was my design, if I remember right.
I think it was pretty collaborative, actually.
That's true.
I think you were the guy. You thought that something should happen, and then I came up with an idea, and then you modified it slightly.
In any event, continue.
You notice that once you are tied up, there's about 15 to 20 feet of extra slack on the rope. Not like extra length on the rope beyond what was required to tie you up. And Rascon says to you, "All right, now, lad, time for some bravery." And he shoves the apple in your mouth.
Okay.
And he says, "Okay, the most important thing about your mission is do not wake the captain. If you wake up the captain, we all lose. Now come with me." And he walks towards the back of the boat, holding your rope. And a number of the other pirates do too. The rest of y'all are welcome to come if you'd like. Alright. So Rascon ties the rope very firmly around an anchor weight near the back of the boat. And he says, "Guard, would you like to do the honors?"
You're gonna throw me overboard.
The ogre steps forward, looking a bit almost cheated that the apples are not in his possession, but seems to put it aside. And he very simply picks you up, Tordain, and he just sort of not so lightly underhands you over the edge of the boat.
And as you're sort of careening through the air, Rascon says, "Feed the serpent and we'll let you back up."
Okay.
And as you come down, you hit the end of the rope, and you see you're right in front of the captain's window. And you can look in, it's dark, there doesn't seem to be any light coming from her quarters at this time.
User joined your channel.
Okay. Are my hands free, or are they tied under the rope?
They are tied.
Okay. Do I see the serpent? Or do I see anything?
You look around and you see on the side of the captain's window, there would appear to be a large sort of wooden motif of a serpent with a point with large, probably about foot long, pointed fangs coming from its open mouth.
Okay. Can I, like, trying to be quiet, shimmy my way over to it?
You can try to swing your way back and forth towards it.
Can I not, like, the rope is taut, right?
Yeah.
Can I put my feet on the hole and just sort of slowly walk as if I'm rappelling?
You can walk along the glass of the captain's window
Oh,
if you want
never
to try
mind.
that.
I thought I was face level with the window and my feet below it.
It's a big window.
No, you're tied around the middle. Your whole body is tied up and you're hanging that way.
Okay, I will try to swing towards it.
All right, take an agility check.
I will reroll that. There you go.
All right, you managed to get your momentum building over the next 30 seconds and managed to swing up close to it.
Can I stop myself near it? Like, catch onto something with my foot?
What do you want to catch on to?
What is the sturdiest thing around it?
Not much. I mean, there's the frame of the window if you want to try and hit the frame rather than the window itself.
Wait, where is the motif? Is it in the frame, the window, or?
It's on the edge, the left-hand edge or port side edge of the window. So it goes all the way up the port side edge of the window,
So
and
it's
then it's at the
part
top.
of the frame, or is it part of the window itself?
It's part of the window frame.
Okay. I will try to land on the frame.
Okay, take an agility check.
Otherwise, I'm just going to keep swinging here.
Is there a hole there? What are you trying to? I'm confused.
Yeah, I would describe the head of the serpent, Jacob.
So the head of the serpent is a large snake head. It's opened wide, and protruding from the snake's snout are two sharpened fangs that are about 8 inches to a foot in length.
Okay.
So you're trying to probably attach that apple to the fangs.
Fangs. That was what my plan. But I have to, like, stop swinging repeatedly through the air so I can maneuver around it and do that because my hands are tied.
Nonsense.
I'm somewhat unclear. Is there glass between Fowl and the serpent's head?
No, there's glass beside the serpent's head.
Ah, so it's an open window.
I will attempt to reroll.
Kind of. The window itself is closed right now, but the serpent's head is not. The serpent's head is like part of the window frame, not part of the window.
Oh, right.
How many fortune points do you have?
That was my last one. I have a total of 3 per day.
Okay.
Unless my nap before...
No.
Okay.
Alright, so you kind of wrap on the window a little bit with your foot, and you swing back in the other direction.
Okay. I can't see any option other than to try again. So I'm gonna try and swing further around the wind. I'm gonna try and build up more swing so that I can swing more past the snake, so that I don't tap the window again.
All right, take an agility check and a strength check.
Oh dear. Okay.
All right, you managed to swing up pretty well, so so for a few swings in a row, you're starting to get pretty close to the serpent, but you aren't managing to swing yourself past it.
Okay, I still want to like stop myself because The only way I can see to get the snake, the apple in my mouth in onto the fang was I have to stop it, lower my head, and then sort of shove the apple onto the fang while it's still in my mouth.
I mean, if you want to stop first, sure.
Let me ask this. So, where he is currently, how many feet or inches is he away from this snake?
So when he's at center point for where he's hanging, he's on the other side of the window from the snake. He's kind of right here. And the snake is right here.
Okay,
So
like,
he's like 8 or 9 feet away from it. But he's also near the bottom of the ship. He's like 3/4 of the way down.
So you don't want to lose your momentum, Val. You want to build momentum.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
But I thought you said you want to stop swinging.
No, I wanted to swing over to the snake and then catch myself on the snake with my feet. Is what I'm trying to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so you swing up, and you manage to kind of lift your feet up to your head level, but they kind of scrabble a little bit on the snake head and then slip back off, and you go swinging in the other direction again.
Well, I'm not necessarily trying to get on the snake head. I'm just trying to get on the snake so I can stop myself and like maneuver around the snake.
Yeah, you failed to do that.
Huh?
Yes, you failed to do that.
You're going garbled. I failed to do that?
Yes, you
Yes.
failed to do that.
Okay. I guess I honestly don't see any other options. I will attempt it again.
Okay.
Same rolls.
Yep. Okay, roll your strength.
Same net result.
Alright, so you managed to get far enough to get past it. Roll a weapon skill check if you're trying to get your foot in just the right place.
Less than a degree.
You kind of slip down a little bit, so you're turned around backwards right now. Your foot is holding on to the snake a little bit, but your head is facing as though you were swinging back again. So your head is more on this side, and your feet are right here, right there, like hooked on the snake.
How to turn myself around. Where, like, how far, like, turning my head around, how far is my head from the snake fangs?
It's probably about where your hips are, but a good leg length higher than your hips.
That gives me zero relevant information, Jacob.
Okay, what information would be relevant?
I'm trying to see where in relation to my head height it is.
It's about a leg length higher than your head.
Oh, above my head.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I attempt to turn around and fail miserably, I'm going to try and slowly walk my way back up the thing, so that I'm closer to the snake's head.
Okay. You do that.
Okay. Now I'm going to try and turn myself around so I'm facing the snake's head. Agility, I think it.
Yeah, agility.
Oh boy. Nope.
So your your leg tries to go up, and then it slips off, and then your foot kind of catches on the fangs, so you're kind of stuck on the fang by your foot.
Okay. How securely is my foot stuck?
You could probably wriggle it free without breaking anything.
I don't particularly want to wriggle it free. I want to like start. So I'm
You're
bound
anchored.
around my
You're anchored
feet.
pretty well.
Huh?
You're anchored fine.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm bound with the rope around my upper body, right?
Most of the way up. It's got your arms, but you've got a fair bit of upper body freedom.
Okay, I want to like do a crunch kind of thing and try and get my head to the thing.
All right, take a strength check.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I roll a 4.
You pretty easily manage to sort of crunch your way up, and you're now like sort of curled up in a ball with your head right and your feet both like near the thing.
I want to try and now shove the apple onto the thing.
Okay,
Well,
take a weapon skill check.
I succeed.
All right, you manage to get the apple onto the fang.
Undo my crunch and show that the apple is no longer in my mouth and try and signal to the guys.
All right, you notice a fair number of them are looking over the edge of the ship at you, and you get a little smattering of applause. It doesn't seem particularly impressive round, but you get a little bit of applause, and they start hauling you up. And they bring you over, and a knife quickly loosens your knots. The woman with an eye patch looks at you and says, "Took you long enough."
Well, I was trying to be quiet. Okay, I look at the master gunner and the first mate and say, anything else?
Nope, you had the serpent.
Well, next one, I guess.
Margot will turn and tap Garg on the shoulder. How this ogre tradition?
He turns to frown at you and he says, "Ogres do it fast."
Margot, go next.
Garb nods approvingly at this and gestures for multiple people to come forward and tie you up with links of rope. And he does not casually shove you over the side. They very carefully lower you over the side, because God help them if your momentum picked up.
You also notice that there's some chain involved in yours.
Okay. So I don't get to accidentally kill myself by breaking free. Got it.
Garb glares at you and he says, "Record 1 minute."
Alright. I will nod with the 2 apples in my mouth, I assume, and try to swing over towards the other side.
How long did I take?
I think it probably came out about, what, 2:30?
I'll check the math while you handle Ben.
All right, sounds good. All right, so you try to swing over. Are you trying to just like get momentum, just build momentum as best you can, or are you?
Foul, you were just shy of 2 minutes.
So,
Okay.
I am going to try to kick my legs to swing my way over in a vertical position, and then I'm going to try to stab the apple on it while it's in my mouth, a la bobbing for apples via swinging.
All right, take a
Dangerous, I like it.
Take a what? Agility?
Start with strength. All right, you managed to get swinging pretty good. You get some good momentum to you. And then you want to spear it without stopping yourself or without trying to catch yourself anywhere.
My hope is at the peak of the swing, I'll be next to the serpent, and during that pause before I drop down, I try to attack the thing with the fruit in my mouth and get it to land on the spike and not impale myself on it.
All right, so you're trying.
Actually, no. Forget. I can impale myself on it. I just need the apple on the spike. This is for the mob.
Okay. In that case, take a very easy agility check.
Because, screw
I
not
will
waking
re-roll
up the
that.
captain.
Or very easy is only plus 20, and that's not enough, right?
Very easy is plus 30.
Alright, then that's a success.
Alright, so as you swing forward, you do end up in the vicinity of the spiked serpent mouth. Take a weapon skill check.
Alright, I have multiple attacks and 2 apples. Can I try with both? At the risk of losing one of my apples and not succeeding?
Sure, roll 2 roll 2 attacks.
Oh man.
If this works,
I will re-roll that one. I succeed.
You succeed, but with no degrees.
But with no degrees.
that was just his first attack, though, wasn't it?
No, that was the second one.
Oh, okay.
Alright, the first apple comes flopping out of your mouth, ignominiously. And the second one kind of spears straight through the apple as you jerk your massive head upward, and does, pierce into your lip a little ways.
Alright, that's fine.
Yeah.
Take a single wound.
But your apple is stuck.
Alright, I will grin with a bloody grin up at Garg.
Garg slaps the railing of the ship approvingly, and he almost seems like he's about to roar, but one of the other crew members gives him a very dangerous look of a warning shot, and he very silently opens his mouth and just keeps hitting the railing. But they pull you up.
Alright. I will look longingly at the apple bobbing in the water as I am pulled up.
Garg will slap you not terribly lightly on the arm and say, almost as good as Garg. Garg did 3, same time.
Only had 2 apples.
Still good. Not as good as Garg, but still good.
Alright, you guys are up.
You do get some applause, and some people don't actually willingly pat you on the back, but they look like they're going to before they think better of it. Alright, Reston turns around. That one's gonna be hard to beat. Who's up next?
I guess I will. I have no idea how I'm supposed to do this.
Alright.
Just bullshit it like I did.
Catalina herself turns and she begins tying you up.
Is this a person of interest? Because I don't think we've ever been introduced to her.
You have not been.
Okay.
But you get tied up rather readily, and you get handed over to Garg.
Garg frowns down at you for a moment, and he says, Captain would say, treat like lady, and he violently pushes you off the side of the edge.
What was the adjective there?
Treats like lady.
Oh, for the push.
Oh.
Violently.
Oh, violently.
Violently.
Because it sounded like violently, and I was like, what?
Alright, just pushes you over the railing.
Hard, yes.
Alright, take an agility check.
Alright.
Feel as if Garg may be biased.
Well, if you want a pretty ogre lady, you have to be a little violent.
Woo!
Alright. Shit, 5 degrees?
Yeah, that comes with a reward of some kind.
Yeah, not only do you manage to avoid slamming into the window as you go careening back towards the ship, you actually manage to catch a foot lightly on the tip of the serpent's nose.
Alright, I kind of want to pull myself closer, pull put my legs up to my chest as best I can, and kind of reach my head forward, and see if I can.
Do you have the contortionist skill?
No.
No.
Only
Good effort, Jacob, but no. No one in the party has that.
Take an agility check.
I will reroll. There you go.
Do you have a resting agility of 52?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she
Okay.
sucks at everything else, so don't get too nervous.
You manage to wedge the serpent's neck between your 2 feet and sort of almost sit back so that your ass is kind of against the window, but your head is right next to the serpent's teeth.
And I will put or slowly. I'm not going to hastily do it. I'm going to just work my head and put the stab the apple onto the fang.
Take an easy strength check.
The implied sensualness is getting you jeers from up above.
That's what I'm kind of going for.
Okay, as you tenderly work this apple onto the snake's tooth, despite there being 2 apples on there already, you manage to rather easily just shove one further up and push it on. You do notice some very interesting looks, however, as you're pulled back up.
I will not say anything. I will just I will actually just start humming to myself as they pull me up.
All right. And Rescon turns around and says, "Well, it looks like the elf not only got sponsorship, but also got an apple. I suppose you should have a run as well."
I mean, I don't need to.
The ogre slaps his belly and says, "Nonsense! Everyone goes."
Fine.
He is no longer the Kentucky Fried Ogre.
Margo
All
will
right.
grin a bloody grin. It not hard.
As Catalina ties you up, she says, "Now, I know elves are slippery than most folk, but you know if you slip these knots, you're just gonna fall into the ocean."
I thought that I could fly away.
Garg just looks mildly annoyed, and he says, "No flying. That cheat. Garg, shoot."
Catalina somewhat roughly shoves you towards the ogre after she's tied you up.
Spread my wings and fly, ogre.
I will nudge Celine. Is elf wizard?
No, but she is playing her part.
Will
Lane
we
still has
get
to-
in trouble for consorting with wizard if she flies?
How high is the rail?
That's like probably what you think, Jacob? Like 3 or 4 feet?
3.5.
I think it more is on the captain for even bringing a wizard on board, ogre.
Would you allow me the dignity of throwing myself over the side?
If you roll an agility check fast enough.
Yeah, take an agility to avoid the ogre trying to grab onto you.
Come on, elf, be elfy.
No, he gets you. He looks mildly
smell.
offended, and for an ogre, a mild offense looks like a serious offense. And you hear him grumbling to himself something about elves ruining best part of day, and then he just leans over the side and just drops you.
Drop is probably for the best.
Alright, you come down right next to the window. Take a perception check.
With what sense?
Hearing.
Okay. Oh, I'm looking in entirely the wrong place. That makes sense.
You hear a rather annoying dolphin below you.
Y'all keep
It's
going.
like-
I have to answer a phone call real quick.
It's like not a smart dolphin either. It's like going.
My God.
Isn't that the seal?
It was.
Nope, it's a
It's a
dolphin.
Warhammer. It's a Warhammer dolphin.
Jacob, have you ever
You-
been around
you-
dolphins?
You don't know dolphins in Warhammer. Jacob
I
is
told you it was
for
a.
it.
I told you it was not a very good dolphin.
No,
You told me it wasn't a very smart dolphin.
It's a dolphin, but it has an extra seal head.
No, it's a dolphin.
It's a chaos dolphin.
It's a chaos dolphin.
It's not a dolphin, it's retarded.
Because I've been around dolphins. They don't sound anything like
I mean, with your perception check, that's pretty much a dolphin.
I'm willing to accept that's what I can hear with that perception roll. Doesn't matter if there's nothing making it.
Alright.
Okay. So, where am I in relation to the everything?
You are again about 8 feet from the serpent's head. The rope is just taut. It's not swaying at all. You just dropped straight down. And you are right next to the opposite side of the window.
From the laughing I heard, I'm guessing Jacob did not do a very good dolphin impression.
No.
He did a very good seal impression, and we're just going to leave it at that.
It was a mutated dolphin. It couldn't help it.
That's one theory.
Better than a mechanical chaos dwarf dolphin. Count your blessings.
Because
Was that
would
on
be-
the table?
Because
Was
that
I
would be-
honestly
It's
gonna
always
say
on the
that?
table.
So, to clarify, I'm here-ish, and the thing is there-ish.
Yes.
Cool. I'm facing it directly. Question.
Yes.
Alright, so to swing forwards, we have to kick our legs backwards to begin with.
Yes.
And then forwards, and then backwards, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try and gently sail over to the pointy thing.
Alright, take an agility check.
Hey Dice, you know how I blew that 90 just now? I have a different roll.
Survey says
80s.
20s!
Nope.
it wasn't a horrible fail.
Yeah, you don't get quite far enough on your first attempt. You're having a hard time getting the rope to really follow you as much as you'd like. But you manage to avoid tapping on the window too badly.
Bloody ogre can't hold it properly.
Don't let him hear you say that. He might start jiggling it.
That would probably help with this, though, at this rate. Okay, so we tap onto the window and what? Launch off again? Or?
Sure,
you could-
if you want to do it that way. You want to, like, push with your legs off on the side of the window?
I mean, that would be an idea. I was just trying to get a sense of what sort of contact I made.
Yeah, you lightly brush against it, but if you wanted to apply your force to try and bounce off of it, you could easily try that.
Sure.
Alright, take a routine strength check.
Just don't break it.
Don't wake the captain.
I mean, I couldn't care less about that.
You should. She has a gun.
Yeah, like she isn't going to notice the fall.
You live in America now. You should know the dangers of sleepy people with guns.
Okay, your feet just kind of slide, and you kind of smack your face into the window a little bit.
My feet slide. That's a pretty big slip.
I mean, you're dangling from rope, so your feet slide, and you just kind of go that way.
Anyway, is it worth waiting until I'm still again before trying again?
Maybe.
I don't know. You could sacrifice momentum to try and get a better angle, but it's up to you.
I mean, momentum seems to be taking me in the wrong direction anyway, so...
No, pick your poison.
We'll wait until it's still before swinging again.
Okay. Take an agility check.
So that's 10... Okay, so use it about 30 seconds.
That feels kind of familiar.
Still not bad, though.
Yeah, you managed to get somewhat close to it as you're swinging. You're not close enough to take an easy shot, but you're maybe.
You could always fire the apple with your mouth. I would love to see that blast skill check.
I could
I
spit the apple.
considered it, like legitimately considered
All or
it. My
nothing.
ballistic skill is better than my weapon skill.
I could spit the apple.
I didn't say it'd be a smart idea. I'm just saying possibilities.
That was a thought I had since I had 2.
I almost did it because I have sharpshooter, so I could have aimed the apple and gotten.
No,
a
you
+1.
couldn't have.
Yeah, I could.
No, you bloody couldn't. It was in your mouth.
There might have been a GM debate on that one, but in any event, continue.
Like, I'm lodging a complaint if you can do that.
I never said you could.
But you're always welcome to try. This is Sartosa, land of the free.
We're not there yet. What was I doing?
You're swinging.
You're swinging. You're not quite as close as you would like to be, but you seem to be moving in the right direction.
Very slowly. Well, let's try a third time lucky. Do I have any sort of momentum left, or?
Yeah, you're pretty close. It wouldn't require a whole lot extra to get you there.
Okay, let's kick forward as hard as we can on the next one.
Alright, take an easy strength check.
Don't quite get enough. You're still not quite far enough yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's not as bad as it looks, but... I mean, can I try again, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can try again.
Okay. Kicking for the 5th time?
Third, but
Third. Finally.
Alright, this time you get pretty close. Your swings are actually bringing you almost into contact with it. So you're about where you need to be.
Meaning that I'm in a position to reach out with a limb, or?
Meaning that on your at the height of your swing, you're pretty much face to face with it.
Okay, so it's a question of timing. The sort of lunge in order to not impale my face.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, quick question. There's 2 fangs, and one of them has 3 apples on it.
Is that the closer or the farther one?
One of them has 1 apple on it that's sort of impaled to the edge of the apple. Then the other one has 2 apples on it, but they're actually further up, so there's a little bit of fang sticking out.
I mean, let's aim for the clearer one, I guess.
Sure, take a weapon skill.
Okay.
Oof.
You miss. You keep swinging, however.
Okay.
Oh god, I forgot my
If I keep swinging, you want me to do another weapon skill check? Or...
I would.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Get together.
You miss again. You're starting to lose a little bit of momentum, but you can probably take another shot.
9. She's at 9.
Okay.
Alright, you're starting to lose some momentum.
10.
You might need to build it back up again.
Or spit the apple.
What exactly does the spitting the apple gain me if I'm coming in on the right level?
Take a perception check.
With what sense?
Hearing.
Okay.
You think you might have heard something coming from the captain's quarters.
I mean, is there any possibility I could see into the captain's quarters? Because
She does have a little light vision.
I have night vision and I have a ridiculous perception bonus when I'm looking.
That's true. You can try and look in. The windows are a little grimy, so that's going to impose a penalty, but...
No, you can't say anything.
What's your bonus, Izzy?
Excellent vision is plus 20, and if I am estimating, I could ask the GM to combine that. Estimating with eyes, I could ask the GM to combine that. For another 10, I think.
So you should have 57 plus anything that the GMs would give you.
Yeah, but there's only a penalty for grimy windows.
It's your call, Jake.
Yeah, you don't really see much.
Fine. Let's get back to flailing. How much momentum have I got?
If you want to weapon skill it, you need to build it up a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're kind of where you were at before that strength. So you're kind of getting there, but you're not quite far enough anymore.
Sorry, did you say the closer or the farther fang had the 2 apples on it?
I guess the 2 apples is probably slightly further. It's closer to the window.
Right. Okay. Let's start swinging again.
Okay. Take a strength or agility check, depending on how you want to do it.
Great.
Oh, well, as you're swinging and trying to build up some momentum, you manage to get yourself twisted, so you turn kind of sideways, and your face kind of hits the window a little bit, and you drop your apple,
That's fair.
and it falls into the water with a little plunk. And that dolphin laughs at you.
It's seal voice.
The dolphin laughs.
Don't think about it.
The dolphin chitters at you.
Dolphins do actually laugh.
All right. And at this, you see a little light come on inside the captain's quarters that you are now directly facing. And the captain is staring at you, and she has a gun pulled and pointing at the window.
Can I recover enough to sort of motion towards my bound hands?
Oh, she can see your bound hands.
Yeah, she can see them.
She just doesn't care.
I guess I have to stare back then.
I mean, feel free to shout.
I think the damage is already done by this point.
All right, so you're doing a sort of staring contest with the captain. Take a willpower check.
A pleading look of, please do not shoot.
Okay, so less intimidating, more please don't kill me.
Take a fellowship check.
Puppy dog face.
I can explain. Okay. Take a what check? Sorry, willpower.
Fellowship.
Fellowship.
All right, she is just glaring at you, and she cocks her gun.
Just smile and shrug. 'Cause that's all you can do.
Garg leans over the edge of the railing, and you hear him say, probably louder than he should, "Why no swing?"
Pull me
How
up,
big is the light in the
Garg.
captain's cabin?
Sorry, what did you say?
Pull me up, Garg.
He holds the rope for a moment, and he frowns down at you, and he looks like... something passes his face that's difficult for you to recognize. It's not an emotion that you probably have seen in elves. And he kind of holds the rope, and he looks down at you, and he says, "Can elf fly?"
No?
He looks disappointed, but he pulls you back up.
I was gonna say. I mean, sometimes. No.
Take a perception check.
With which sense?
Hearing.
Okay. It's like, which stat is perception? Oh, there it is. No.
All right. The light goes out, but you don't hear anything from the captain's quarters.
Garg pulls you back up, and surprisingly, he gives you a camaraderie pat, and he say, "Most crew fail." Garg knew you'd not cheat. Elf could stood no chance.
And at this, Rescon says, "Well, we've spent the last couple of days storing up some of our grog rations. It's time to welcome the new crew properly. Everybody downstairs before the captain wakes up."
Oh dear.
Sorry. Coincidental coughing.
Garg puts on an uncharacteristic amount of hustle at the mention of grog.
Cordain hides behind the ogres.
All right. You notice most of the crew sit themselves down in a loose circle.
Margal will join the Serpent and look for
Same.
this grog.
One sec. Red bandana. Oh, okay. All right. The cook, dearest Barnabas, comes into the room, rolling a number of barrels past him, and he kind of rolls them in y'all's general direction. And the first mate does a pretty good job of picking them up as they roll and setting them around the room. Barnabas looks to the head gunner and he says, "How'd they do?"
Rascon clucks his tongue and says, "Well, 3 out of 4. An uncommonly good showing, actually. It's good luck."
He whistles and nods his head at Zelene and he says, "How'd she do?"
At this, Rascon gets a bit of a toothy grin and says, "Ah, you should have seen it."
Good, then somebody owes me money.
He sighs heavily and says, "I already paid Garg." And then he passes some brass pence. He just kind of tosses 5 brass pence over at the cook.
The cook nods and he says, "Now, just to make things clear, this was a freebie. You steal from my food stores again, I'll gotcha, you hear me?"
Steal?
The, who says that?
The cook.
Margal will say steal and look confused.
Rascon says, these crew took the captain's warning about stealing as seriously as they should. Most of it was done with a little bit of our help.
He thrusts a finger into his chest and says, "Fine, then if you steal from my food again, I'll gut you."
Rascon says, "Believe me, I'm well aware."
Margal will raise hand. I still have freebie.
Are you saying this to the cook?
Yes, to the cook.
He nods.
Margal will grin.
Alright, the barrels are both smashed open, and y'all are able to get drinks. And most of the crew seems to sit tight for a little bit. And some people start to share stories.
Alright, as the chatter gets going, Rascon looks to Garg and says, "Well, you're the ranking member of the crew. You want to share a story first?"
Cold message out to Jacob, BT Dubs.
Yeah, okay.
He'll handle that, probably. Garg nods slowly, and he leans forward with a look of extreme consternation on his face. And he glances around the ship, and it's almost like he's about to share some horrible, deep secret with you all. And he nods and he says, "There's a rat on this ship."
Is that all he says?
That's all he says.
How big?
He frowns and he goes, "Not big, but smart. Garg eaten every single rat that came on this boat, except this one rat. He eats all the food I put out for him, so not only do I not get mouse food, I don't get mouse." He slams his fist against one of the beams in the room for emphasis, and it cracks audibly.
Where has this mouse last been seen?
He glares at you, Zelene. He goes, "He everywhere."
Have you seen him? Actually seen him?
Garg nods, but you notice many of the other crew members don't exactly have empathetic expressions on their faces.
Okay, I get it now.
Garg points and says, "Rat smartest member of crew. Garg hate Rat. He make Garg look stupid."
I saw a rat once.
Garg looks at you and says, "Did you kill it?"
That was the end of the story.
I'm sorry, was that you saying that, or was that her saying that?
That was me. That was her saying that.
Okay. He nods approvingly and says, "Rat's good dead. Make decent meal. Small snack."
When Garg seems to be done with his story, Rascon looks over at the fellow in between them and says, "Rashid, do you want to pass as usual?" And the fellow says in a strong Arabic accent, "Speak little, what language are we speaking? Are we speaking Billion? I think we're speaking Billion."
Tillion's fine.
He says in a
speak, so, yeah.
strong Arabic accent, "Speak little Tillian. Not much to say. You wouldn't laugh at."
I am going to speak to him in Arabic, and I will tell him I can translate for him.
He looks a little surprised at this. He says,
I will have to step away briefly when my food gets here, because I ordered pizza because I didn't want to leave again.
No egos.
I haven't had Echoes in months, is he? They're really not that good.
I mean, they're surprisingly edible.
They are. I almost prefer eating them plain at this point.
Cole, he messaged you.
Yeah.
While they're talking, the guard clears his throat and say, "No member share story now." And he looks pointedly at the four of you.
Aww.
Margal, how did you earn the name Slayer of Thighs? You promised to tell me later.
I just told not to tell story.
No, he said one of you needs to tell a story.
He said you, not no.
Yeah, he said new, not no.
Ah, knew not know. Margal once spent time at Moot.
Which of these guys am I speaking to, by the way? Okay.
The token one.
One of these is not like the others.
His name is Rafik.
Rashid.
We should note there are other dark-skinned members of the crew. We're just too lazy to give them models.
Yeah, it's Roll20 that's racist, not us.
Yes, not us.
So that's what you're going with.
We are completely not at fault.
Sorry, should I continue, or is Cole going to do his translation?
No, continue. Cole can wait.
You'll
It was
wait.
during Pie Week. Best week to be in Moot. Many pies, whole tables full of pies. But Margal is smart. He watched and saw pies. Best pies in all of Pie Week at the Moot Festival, and he stomped over to Crunches and picked up the best pies and shoved them all in his mouth, and all the little halflings screamed, "He killed them!" And Margal laughs, pies still in his mouth. And then they chase him away for jealousy of Margal's pie eating.
You can see Garg is audibly choked up.
Like crying, choked up, or laughing?
Crying. He seems awed by this story. He leans forward towards you, Ben, and he says, Our little man pie's as good as Ma says."
He will get this glazed expression and start drooling. Yes. They are best pies.
Garg gets an angry look on his face and say, "Captain, don't let us raid Moot. We need raid Moot."
This restaurant
Worst of all, this stupid halfling still has bounty on Margal for being best pie eater. His jealousy knows no limits.
Garg nods at the notion that people can only help but be jealous of Ogre's eating skills.
And that is why Margal is Slayer of Pies. He will grin at everyone and drink grog.
Tordain will raise his... I'm assuming we have... we brought out our tankards.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Tordain raises his tankard and salute to Margal.
Margal will turn to the elf, pause, and then skip the elf because she's already told the story, and nod at Tordain.
But I had another story.
I was gonna do my thing.
I'll be back in a moment. Keep going.
Sure.
I will nod at Zelene. See, have they been like relaying the story while we've been talking, or?
Hello? No, I was getting ready to translate.
Oh, okay. You two ready then?
Jacob?
Just a minute.
Hello? Oh, okay. Nope. Who's going?
I think Zelene.
Well, let's do a quick time because I'm still typing something out for Zelene.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe the cook can go next?
Sure. Does anyone need a bathroom break or anything?
I do.
Okay. Just take a quick break then while Jacob's typing out.
I'll be right
Everyone will be back in like 3 minutes.
I mean, I do have another story.
Well, great. We'll get to it in 3 minutes.
Cool.
I am back.
Now we're
Alright.
just waiting on Cold.
I'm back.
Okay, Cold, you're up.
Alright. So I will kind of, is he speaking while I translate, or does he just relay it to me and I just regurgitate it?
Most of it was written to you.
Okay. I will say, I'll motion towards the man and say, I once met a Cathayan merchant prince with a trident that allowed him to command the beasts of the sea. They called him Pa Yu, and even the Arabian merchant princes with gins in their sails, gave him a wide berth. He was the most feared pirate on the Silk Seas for almost 30 years, but disappeared without a trace only 5 years ago. I hear rumors that the Trident went to land, where none knew of its awesome power. But I saw it once, when I was part of a spice trade in Ind. The man brought terrifying beasts into battle with him. If our ship had been a hair slower, I'd be in the belly of a great shark. And I will kind of unmotion towards the man.
That sounds like best dinner fork. Could it bring fish onto boat on their own?
I will look at the man.
He does not understand what Margol said.
I will relay the question.
Oh,
Are you typing it to me?
Presumably, yes.
that's all.
I will nod and smile at Margol and say, "It could indeed, though a man with such power would have all the food money could buy. He would never want for food, ships, or women. Imagine it, all the food of the sea."
This is best story.
Garg gives an annoyed grunt and he says, "Fake! Fake story! No such thing exists."
But all the food!
Garg says, "Too good to be true. Has fake."
Rascon says, "Does anyone want to hear how I got my name?" And he sort of gestures to his tongue.
Did you do it yourself?
He laughs and says, "Certainly not." So, one night we make it to port, and we've had a fantastic haul. We've been paid marvelously for what we brought back, and we made quite a bit of money preying on another ship on the way. So, being a good red-blooded man who'd been at sea for a good couple of months, I decided that the extra coin in my pocket could get me more than one lassie to spend the night with. So I go out to town and I find myself a couple. But alas, all the inns were full because this is Sartosa, and it was the night of some great meeting between the fancy lords, and there were ships at dock all across the damn island. So I take them back onto the ship. And unfortunately, the captain hears my stirrings and comes downstairs to the hold where he finds me with these lovely ladies. And she asks what I be doing, and I be telling her honestly that I'm just taking a taste for myself. And she says, "Well, none of you know that sort of company ain't allowed on board." And she takes a knife and she slits open me tongue. But the joke's on her, because now I'm twice as good.
And here I thought it was because someone you annoyed someone with the wrong quip.
He says that might actually be the reason. I don't remember too well.
Barnabas scowls and he says, "If it's not the reason, it's certainly added to it."
The Rascon smiles and then makes a lewd gesture with his tongue. Or tongues, as it were.
So I will kind of sit back and I will again begin to hum. If it's my turn, of course.
It could be anybody's turn.
Okay. And I will say, I don't quite have a story, but I do have a song.
That's always welcome in my book. Catalina also nods.
Garg looks dubious.
I will nod to everyone and I will begin to sing.
Do you have the jukebox, Sotek?
No, but I can set up in like 2 seconds. Is it the same thing from last time, Cold?
Yeah, from last night.
Yeah, what was the name of it?
Carry Me. I think you saved it, didn't you?
I didn't save it, I listened to it.
Oh.
Hold on. It'll take me like 2 seconds.
You want to do the one that's instrumental or acoustic, one of the ones?
Yeah, hold on. There it is. Boop. Someone let me know when it's done, because I can't play sound since I'm recording.
This song is literally putting me to sleep, just saying.
Well, you can always mute it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's done.
It's done.
Alright, as this ends, Argal will turn to Zelene and ask, "Why you need be carried? You have legs."
Garg will look at you like you're stupid and say, "Tiny legs obviously need help."
Margal will shrug.
God damn it.
Sound pretty, at least. Margal will turn to Stratus Laeth and point at the bones. Story about bones.
Sure. Long ago, in the Bretonnian county of Florin, a woman named Bittercup lived on a farm. Whenever she ordered the farmhand Wesley to do chores for her, he complied and answered, "As you wish." Eventually she realized he loved her, and he admitted his love for her in turn. Wesley left to seek his fortune so they can marry, but his ship was attacked by the dread pirate Roberto. No, I'm not telling you about the bones.
Is your elf going to continue the story or not?
No, that was the answer to the end. No, I'm not going to tell you about the bones.
I think I might violate that copyright you mentioned
Yeah, I
earlier.
was about to say, I don't think we want to.
What the fuck?
I don't think we want
Sorry,
to
that was me.
violate. I'm fairly certain Disney is the publisher of The Princess Brides.
As long as we don't play footage from the clip, we should be fine.
It's actually 20th Century Fox. Anyway.
I'll rephrase. Was that the elf's actual answer, or was that an Izzy answer?
Bit of both.
Okay, no, it has to be one or the other. Did it happen in the actual universe or not?
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Okay. Barnabas frowns at you and he says, Well, you can't just stop in the middle of a story.
5 years later, believing Wesley was dead, Bittercup reluctantly agreed to marry Prince Humperdinck, heir to the throne of Florin. I suppose it's...
Stupid name.
I know. Bretonnians. Before the wedding, she was kidnapped by 3 outlaws. A short Sartosan boss named Vizini, a gigantic wrestler from Norska named Fezik, and an Estalian fencing master named Inigo Montoya, who sought revenge against the 6-fingered mutant who killed his father. The outlaws were pursued by Prince Humperdinck with a complement of soldiers, and also by a masked man in black. The man in black caught up to the outlaws at the top of the Cliffs of Insanity, where he defeated Inigo in a duel and knocked him unconscious, choked Fezik until he blacked out, and killed Vizini by tricking him into drinking poison. Sorry, I have to check something.
Quick note: ogres can't be poisoned, correct?
Oh, why can't
Can
they
be,
poison?
yes, but it's difficult.
Alright, so the thought of poisoning should not send me into an instant rage about someone ruining food.
Being poisoned to death is kind of up there on an ogre's worst fears. It's an unpleasant way to go for an ogre.
Hi.
The halfling turns to Tordain and says, "Well, hopefully your stories don't involve so many bones. But where are you even from?"
From a shitty piece of land called Hammerrain.
And what stories do you have for us?
Oh, there's the story of how I got the hell out of there. It's a tiny little hamlet on the eastern edges of the Border Princes, run by a rather uppity old count who fancies himself of more than the lord of a single village. And I had the dubious honor of being one of the poor sobs he had standing on the wall when all the orcs and other things came crawling out of the wastes. But I decided that I wasn't ready to, I didn't particularly want to die for him. So in the middle of the night one day after the sun set, I snuck into his house, took my bow from the armory, and I stole his boat, and went and rowed down the harbor until I reached one of the bigger cities downriver. Which is also where I first got my introduction into he waves his hand around, line of business. Much money to be made on in the rocky coasts of the Princes. Hello?
Sorry. Brief GM discussion. Continue, unless you're done.
That was it. That was done.
This music's playing very quietly. Anyone else do this?
Yes.
Right. Just checking.
No?
Yeah.
From the phone.
You're not crazy.
Rascon turns to Catalina and says, "Sure, you've got some stories. How long you been on this damn ship?" And at this, Catalina kind of wavers for a moment, and then she says, "Well, I suppose I could scare the newbies. I could tell them what we do to wizards, to people who consort with wizards. Call it the Serpent's Crown."
At the mention of this, Garg slams one of his many weapons against the floor and looks very dangerously over in Catalina's direction.
As she says, maybe not. No, I have no stories to tell right now.
Garg has a deepening look that seems to suggest this is not over between the two of them yet, but he doesn't say anything.
Florian drinks more grog.
Looks rather frightened at Garg and says, I mean, what I meant to do was to offer Garg my portion of the rum for right now. And she sort of pours out a glass and gestures in his direction.
Garg seems mildly placated. At this, Barnabas leans back in his chair and he says, I have a good story. Everyone knows that I'm the best cook you'll find on the high seas. No doubt about it. However, I've been searching for a special kind of sea creature all these years. You see, there's this type of eel that you can supposedly find somewhere out in these oceans. Deep sea eel, big creature. They say that if you catch this eel and you get its, and he seems to pause for a word and says, special parts, you can make a soup that's supposed to say to give men the best, and he pauses for a moment again and says, stamina known to this world. I've been searching for it for ages, because that's the only thing that's missing from my life, the only thing holding me back.
Tordane's just sort of staring at him with a the fuck look on his face.
You notice that Barnabas, the more he seems to talk about it, the more he seems to get increasingly greasier and sweatier.
What's an eel?
He frowns at you and he says, I thought elves were well-learned folk.
It's like a snake, except in the water.
But not a water snake.
No. It's like a snake fish.
Barnabas says, except this one. These are supposed to be real big.
What, like a sea dragon?
At this, he blanches slightly, say, no. And he makes the sign of, Manon. He says, watch your tongue, Brent.
Tordane holds up the crossed fingers of Renaud as sort of like almost flipping him off.
But Rescon looks rather cross.
At who? Me or?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Would anyone else like to share?
We've all shared.
I think that's everyone.
Yeah,
Izzy, do you have a
everyone
real story?
Nope.
Noted.
That was entirely fictional. And not owned by me.
Fine. Do you have an
Cover
original
all your
story?
bases.
Use policy. No. Should I have?
It's up to you. It doesn't matter.
I can make up a story on the fly. I need like 5 minutes. No, I don't have one.
Okay. There will be more times for stories in the future, but that is enough for now.
Okay. At this point, the rum seems to be running low, and it seems to be getting fairly late into the night. So Rescon looks over at Garg.
Looks at Garg.
Yeah.
Garg shrugs.
Rescon says, well, I suppose we best be getting to bed.
At this, Garg nods and says, I wouldn't want the captain to show up and see all this. She'd be angry we didn't invite her.
And at this, people seem to start to disperse.
Tordain walks into his bedroom, and then lies down in his bed and just goes to bed.
For some reason, I cannot select my character, my token.
Because you're buried under guard. That may be why.
No, I can't select them either. Hold on. There they go. They got moved onto the map later somehow.
What?
Probably my fault, sorry.
I was gonna say, it was probably Jacob.
Everyone will stay in the circle.
I will yawn and head to my bed.
Little did you know, it was actually a magic circle. We cannot leave.
After the ogre leaves, I will waddle my way over towards where he slammed and stabbed the wood, and I'm going to make a trade carpentry check to try to figure out how damaged it is, and if I could fix it.
It looks rather dented, rather badly, but you feel like if you just, like, maybe put a little bit of ogre spit in the gap and then put the wood in there, you can probably sand it down and have it look good as new.
Alright, I spit in the crack of it. I take out a carpentry plane as wide as the plank and just glide it over until it's smooth again. Nod to myself and then head back to bed.
All right. You notice the crew seems to start waking at around dawn, and then you hear a loud clanging bell, and people start heading towards the top of the cabin.
Tordain follows. This not being his first day on the ship.
How many hours is that we slept?
Enough that your fortune points are restored and everybody gets 1 wound back.
Okay.
So we're on the top deck of the ship, or?
Yep.
Okay.
You notice not everybody is up there. The captain and Gustav are not. And there are a couple of swabbies that seem to be scrubbing on lower floors to begin with. And the captain comes out. She looks very well rested. And she says to the crew, well, it seems our new members are ready for their new chores for the day. I need to do some math real quick to see who came out where. All right. Elf, twice a week, you're expected to clean and retar the bilge. Keep this ship from taking on water. I expect with your knowledge of wood that's common to your folk, you can keep a ship afloat. Tordain. The elf's still downstairs?
Yeah, possibly not a good idea to see Captain again so soon.
It's okay. Word will get passed on to you. She still says those are the elf's chores. Want to make
You're cutting out, Jacob.
Yeah, you're cutting out pretty bad.
Oh. She says, I want to make sure this ship is clean and keeps up with its solid reputation. I expect you to help Klaus scrub the deck twice a day.
Yes, ma'am.
She looks over at Zelene, and she says, you, I hear you have some training, and you seem to be making a good name for yourself on this ship. I want you to speak to the cook. He needs an assistant. There's a lot of hungry mouths to feed on this ship, and he can't do it all by himself.
I will nod.
And she looks over to Margol and says, I hear Rascon has requested your assistance. He wants you to help him load the cannons. This means cleaning them between all battles regularly, making sure they're in shape, doing a couple of test fires, and it also means learning to pack the cannons during battle. You think you can handle that?
Margol will grin widely. I come. That's right? I.
That or R.
Arr, Captain. Margol will grin to himself and start muttering about making an eye patch.
I'll be back in just a moment.
She then looks generally without looking at anyone in specific, and she says, I noticed when I woke up this morning that there were some apples somehow got stuck on the side of the ship. I expect those will be gone before supper tonight. And she says, at the current rate, Catalina, when are we expected to make port? And Catalina looks up and she says, well, for any other navigator, probably tomorrow morning. I can get us in before the moonrise. And the captain nods. Very good. As you were.
Margol eagerly hurries down to re-clean all the cannons he cleaned yesterday.
Tordain meets up with Klaus and gets to work.
All right. You scrub.
Yeah.
I will make my way down to the cook, and I will lean heavily on my spear, which I am taking with me just about everywhere.
Oh, go ahead.
And I will say, the captain said I am to be your assistant.
Oh, you're talking to the cook, right?
Yeah, the cook.
Barnabas gives a moderately unsettling grin and says, this'll work. Can you peel potatoes?
I can, and I will pull out a very sharp knife from my boot.
He nods approvingly. He says, well, let's see those pretty fingers get to work. Get moving.
Loremaster question, actually. Potatoes are a New World food. Where are we getting them from in the Warhammer world?
I don't give a shit. Potatoes.
Sartosa, they're native there.
You're terrible, Loremaster.
They actually all come from the World's Edge Mountains. The dwarves are great potato farmers.
You laugh, but I'm fairly certain the dwarves do eat potatoes in a Karak. I'm going to go check the Felix books.
I don't think there's ever been a lore book specifying the culinary preferences of each of the nations and races in the world, so you're just going to have to deal with it.
Fucking savages.
Speaking of which, as a quick aside, they did officially announce Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition RPG is coming out.
Where did they announce this?
Yeah,
really?
The release date is supposed to be coming out this week.
Oh,
Where,
alright.
where did they announce this?
Today.
Yeah, on
Wow.
the community website, right?
Yeah, I'll give you guys a link at the end of the session.
I was gonna say which community website. Anyway.
The official GW community website.
All right.
Close the door, please.
So, who wants to do anything during this day? I know there's some deck swabbing. There's
Yeah,
some.
that's kinda what I'm doing.
Everybody has their assigned tasks.
I want, while I'm doing this, to take stock of the ship's, the stock of the ship's stock. I'm like lost for words at the moment. I want to.
Oh, like the food stores?
Yeah.
Denied. You can ask for that next time.
Okay.
All right. Margol. Note somewhere on your
Notes in the background.
note somewhere on your character sheet that you are now one. Just a sec. Let me commune with my other GM real quick. You want to hop for a sec, Ryan?
Yeah, that's fine.
User left your channel. Channel switched.
So, how many days does he have to spend assisting Rascon before he can purchase the engineering weapon group?
Oh, I would say he can purchase it. Give him a week. Also, just so you know, I'm having Zelene roll secret tests.
Okay.
I need to tell her she's not allowed to do that because I'm running a lecherous arc with the cook.
Okay. Do note that she had a conversation with the captain where the captain did tell her that if any of those men get too handsy, she can cut off their hands.
I'm depending on it.
Okay.
I do want... I need to get Gustav involved with one of the characters. I'll think on it. I might improvise.
Gustav has some involvement with Zelene because he's the sort of de facto apothecary on the ship.
What would you think of having the Lecher arc eventually culminate in her having to stab the cook, or at least fight him, and so he does get kind of punished, and then she gets sent to go work with Gustav instead?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, it'll take longer than just this session.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Channel switched. Channel switched.
Are we done?
User left your channel. Switched.
Also, Cold, when I say, or for future reference, if I ever tell you guys to roll a GM check, that means a GM check, not a private check.
Oh, okay.
If I want you to roll a private check, I will say so.
Okay.
Margol, note that you are 1/10, that you are 1 out of 10. And if you get to 10 out of 10, you may purchase the Specialist Weapon Group Engineering.
Okay.
1 out of 10 on what?
Just 1 out of 10.
Okay.
1/10 of the way towards purchasing towards being allowed to purchase the Specialist Weapon Group Engineering.
Are cannons engineering or gunpowder?
I'm pretty sure they're engineering.
I have my mic muted. They're engineering. Engineering is for big weapons.
And
Alright, I got that at the bottom of my notes.
weird ones, too.
Okay. It seems that everybody is going about their tasks. Anything else you need to do while we're at sea, Ryan?
No, I'm good.
Alright, anything else the characters want to do while you're at sea?
I want to go down to the quartermaster and sell him some rope.
Okay, go down to the quartermaster.
I completely forgot that I have a few things I needed to sell. But I will wait for Ben.
I will stomp over to him if he's loitering around his store place again at the bottom of the deck. Or bottom deck. And I will pull out 20 yards of rope. How will this work? Can I sell you rope? Do I trade for rope? How I turn rope into more food?
He looks at you annoyed and looks down at the rope and looks back up at you and says, have you been through that boorish ritual yet?
Yes. Morgul was almost missed.
He nods and he takes the rope from you and he looks down at it for a moment and he pauses. And then Sotek leans over to grab a book. Okay, he looks at you and he says, the rope's fine enough quality, though we do have quite a bit of rope, but I suppose we always need more. He pulls out 3 shillings and one by one very carefully and agonizingly puts them on the table and he says, I'll give you 3.
Rope is pretty long. What about 3 and shiny copper piece?
Roll a very easy haggle. You're trying to up him by 1 copper.
Yes.
Yeah, you can roll a very easy haggle.
I utterly fail.
He gives you a pretty... He almost seems to scowl and he says 3 silver.
Alright, Morgul will sigh and take his 3 silver.
Alright, he takes the rope and he takes it into his back room. And as you're walking away, he does sigh annoyedly. And he says, that being said, Ogre, if you need to borrow something, come and see me.
Alright. Morgul will leave to get back to the precious cannons. Hoping that soon they will teach him how to make them go boom.
Now the captain said, how long till port, right?
Yes, you will be docking tonight.
Has she said where?
She has not.
Well, we talked to the master gunner and he told us where we were going, Cold.
He did?
Yeah, we're going.
I'm gonna say I'll give you 1 guess.
We're going to one of the outlying islands of Sartosa.
Oh, I don't know the geography of Sartosa, so
It's like a tiny archipelago. There's one big island and then there's a bunch of little ones.
Yeah, it's a series of volcanic islands with one really big
Hawaii,
volcano in the center.
Think Hawaii, but like mixed with
Think Sicily.
Okay. Okay.
like kind of Hawaii sized, but more pirate island in terms of culture. Tortuga.
Okay. Alright, I'll hold on to what I have then. I'm gonna try and sell them to someone that is probably less stingy.
All right. The day passes uneventfully. Everyone gets their rations. And shortly after nightfall, but true to Catalina's word, before the moonrise, while there's still a hint of sunlight in the sky, everybody makes port, and the ship stops. Here. The ship is in the top right.
That's
That is
not
real-
my token. My profile picture.
By the way, due to various shenanigans and implied small visits to Gustav, you all are all back at full health.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't give them that.
I am.
Okay, you're back to full health. I put them at like 5 each, roughly.
You won't need your health for anything in the near future, but I'm doing it for mathematical sake.
Okay, you're back at full health. Mom and Dad will talk about it later.
Yes, Celine, you did. I just have to create it.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Man, this roasted spinach is fucking delicious.
You know what I found out I despise? Asparagus.
What?
Fucking. It's like eating reeds cold.
You don't know. Apparently, they don't know how to cook it then.
No, it's just
It's
horrendous.
really easy to fuck up asparagus.
It's just horrendous.
It's actually really delicious if you either bake it with garlic or saute it, but not so much that it gets like super floppy, but not so little that it's still hard.
Yeah, asparagus has to be. We grill it in my home. You have to get it just right.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
There's
it's
like-
totally fucked.
Yeah, asparagus you have to get just the right kind of softness.
In any event, welcome to Sartosa.
You are in a small town called Viaport. And you are allowed to disembark once the ship is stopped. As you start to pull in, the captain hollers out to the crew, "We'll be leaving. We'll be leaving at midday, day after tomorrow. I expect you all to be on here."
As you're leaving the ship, all of you receive a payment of 20 brass.
How did we... wait. So, how did we end up dividing up the 6 shillings and 62 pennies that we found?
I don't know, that's y'all's deal.
Like, we came to an agreement, but I don't have it notated.
Well,
I
I
just
don't
have
think the elf wanted any.
No, I didn't want any, so I think you guys split it 3 ways.
How much was it, Phil?
So you each get 2 shillings. And you each get 21 pennies, and I get 20. There.
What's the conversion again, Ben?
20 shillings to a crown, 12 brass pennies to a shilling.
Okay.
Alright. Margot will step off the boat and take a deep breath and turn to those around him and ask, "Who knows how pirate port work? Margot never been to one."
I will look at Tordain.
Step 1, we find the tavern.
Sounds like a good first step.
Step 2, we find out at the tavern. He has no plan to survive the tavern.
Well, I wish you luck in the tavern. I have some exploring to do.
Do we even want to get back on the ship tomorrow?
Alone? I look at Zelene.
Unless you want to come.
If I left you
Morgul can
alone and something
scare off
happened, I'm fairly
snakes.
certain I get lashed. So yes, I'm coming with.
And just so we're clear, you are not on the main island of Sartosa. You are on one of the side islands.
Yeah, okay.
So I point Morgul to the thing I assume is the tavern where all the other pirates are going to. And then I will accompany Zelene on her things.
Okay. So
Is this
somewhere.
the blacksmith?
It would appear so.
Okay, just making sure.
What do your eyes see? Tell me.
Well, you could have made it something else. I have no clue what you guys are doing.
Neither do we.
We're
I
all
will
in
come
this
in.
together. It's a journey of discovery called.
Are there any taverns, inns, or brothels around?
Inns or brothels?
I'm looking for somewhere with a bath. Been down in the bilges all day.
Bath might be wishful thinking, but you can try.
Just your
There is
lavish...
a nice salty ocean.
Yeah.
It's great. Plenty of water.
I mean, is there a stretch of beach anywhere in that case?
There are some moderate cliffs.
Cliffs and beach are not the same thing.
No, but that's as good as you're gonna get.
Ugh.
They're small cliffs. They're like you could easily climb down them without hurting yourself.
Cool.
They're
Try that.
slanted. They're not steep.
Right. What's that story in the Bible about the dude who built his house on the beach?
It's a parable.
And is he working? What does he look like?
Oh, he's a tall, broad-shouldered man. He looks like he might be of imperial stock. And he currently seems to be pouring some molten metal into a mold.
I will come in and say, good blacksmith, do you have a moment? I have some wares to sell.
He looks up and says, well, give me a moment. And he plunges the mold into some bucket of water near him. And he says, what is it you're hoping to sell me?
Zelene will pull out two swords and an axe.
And Trudane will pull out a giant length of chain.
He says, I can make all of that, only better. Why do I want to buy it from you?
Scrap metal.
Unless there is another gentleman around that would prefer to take them off my hands.
He holds out his hand and says, let me take a look at them.
I will hand them over.
He says, looks like these got rusty. You haven't been taking great care of your equipment, missy.
These I found on a island that was more forsaken than anything else I have ever seen.
And you think a self-respecting pirate's gonna want one of these?
No, but the metal is still good to be melted down into something else entirely.
So, this island is forsaken. What do you mean by that? And he rather quickly hands the sword back to you.
The people just left and abandoned it. It was pretty windswept and taken by the storms.
He says, wasn't cursed, was it?
No, I do not believe so. I think it was just too hard of a living for people to sustain themselves there.
Hard living, eh? Roll a fellowship check.
Okay.
He says, well, I suppose I could melt it down for some steel.
Steel is steel.
And he looks at it and says, well, I guess I can recover part of it anyway.
Quick GM meeting.
Channel switched. User joined your channel.
So, I think if Zelene wants to sell it for even a reasonable amount of money, she needs to either try and, like, charm him or, like, cozy up to him. Because this guy should be, like, as one of the primary blacksmiths in the area, this guy should be sitting on, like, a stupid amount of good stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he's going to be offering brass for this.
Oh, like 30 brass or something?
Yeah, like, he's going to be like, alright, maybe I'll give you, 30. Maybe. Like,
Okay.
they should be encouraged to go to the quartermaster for sales.
Okay.
Like, it should become very obvious the quartermaster's going to offer a better deal. Because he doesn't have as much of a... And the reason is because we're trying to enforce a system where if you try and sell something to someone that they already have abundant, they're not going to buy it for much.
Okay.
Okay.
Channel switched. User joined your channel.
He says, well, I suppose the raw metal's worth a little bit to me. I could give you 30 brass for each of them.
I will look at the metal and I will look at him and his shop. And I will say, how about 40 brass for each?
He looks at it and says, 40 brass for rust. It'd be about the same color.
I don't
Only-
think...
I look at the... I'm with Celine, so I look at the swords. Exactly how much rust is on these things?
Yeah, they're passable. They would be okay in a really, really desperate defense, but you wouldn't rely on them for anything beyond that.
I meant, like, just... How rust-covered are they? Like, totally not so...
Like, medium. I mean, they've been sitting out in, like, sea weather for a while.
They've got some little spots.
I will say, in my studies, a bit of rust does not destroy the entire alloy.
He looks at you and says, well, are you taking me off or are you leaving my shop?
So you will not do 40 then?
He says, do I look like a fool? I've got all the metal I need. I'm making good quality goods. And you want to sell me some rust-covered poles and you have the audacity to haggle?
I will shrug and say, an island such as this, do you have your own mine? How are you getting your metals?
He looks at you and says, you haven't been here long, have you?
I have not.
He says, well, maybe you can sell the sword to the fisherman. I hear he's rather slow.
How big is this island, Jacob?
This little protrusion is pretty small, but it does have a bridge to a rather larger portion. You do see off in the distance there's a rather fabulous mansion.
All right, I will gather my things and I will say I wish you the best of the rest of your day. And I will get up and I'll turn around and leave.
You will need to pay for your food here while you're on the island.
Yeah. Figure as much.
Oh no, Ben, there's a carpenter.
Oh, yay. Alright, this place has food. Margot will walk into this place with fish.
Okay.
No gods.
Jacob,
Unless you
when I
want to
look
eat
around,
raw
do I
fish,
see
it would be
any
advised to go to the
beggars or
innkeeper.
People, like, sort of shady looking on the street.
Fewer than you would expect from a pirate city.
I will try and discreetly sort of make... So... Ranald doesn't have temples, right?
No.
No.
Even in Sartosa, is the
Nope.
worship
No.
of Ranald still frowned upon?
It's not frowned upon, but it's not open either.
How would Tordain signal that he's looking for, like, a shrine or whatnot of Ranald? Because since he's a practicing Rinaldian, I would imagine he knows this, even though I don't. Because I do want to do that.
It'll take time.
Okay.
It's not something you can just look for. It's more complicated than that.
I know, I just wanted to start doing, like, whatever the hoops and hurdles he has to do.
You'll just have to hope you come across something at some point.
Okay.
I look at the little man and ask him how much fish cost.
He peers up at you and he says, "That depends entirely on how much fish you want."
I'll give him a rough estimate to how much I think it will take me to feel full. Or not full, but a meal size.
Is this after you've already bought a meal at the inn?
No, I didn't buy a meal because I will not have enough food to buy all the food while I'm here, I think.
I think I understood what you were trying to say.
Quantity he wants to feel full.
Okay.
The ogres can eat raw food, just it's not great.
Yeah, that's true. He looks up at you and he says, "Well, I suppose I could give you all of my less desirable types for, for you to feel full." He'll offer it to you for about... You could probably get away with 2 silver for full.
Margot will nod. When I'm hungry, I may come back. And he will leave counting on his fingers, trying to figure out which one is better. And probably failing.
I will come down here. Is there any signs around?
That's a Jacob question.
Are there any signs around, Jacob?
There's a rather worn old sign in the middle of the island that says Via Port. And then there's a sign on the path to that fancy mansion that says No Trespassers. And then there's a sign along the other path from there.
But I mean, is there any
That
shop
says to
signs?
Westcliff Farm.
No, they don't use shop signs here.
Are there doors?
Yes.
There are loose doors.
So when I come down here, is this door open?
Yes, it's open.
I peer inside. What's going on inside?
There's a rather well-dressed man, in what looks like a shop, but with pretty sparse shelves. There's not a whole lot on the shelves. But what there is seems to be an eclectic mix of things. There doesn't seem to be a specific focus to what he's selling.
Okay. And I come down here. This lady, is this a shop or is this a house?
It looks somewhere in between the two.
I will peer inside here as well. God damn, Tordane is huge.
I've been sitting here like, why am I almost as big as the ogre?
It's like, damn, you've been fucking beefing up, man.
Hitting the roids, man. So I said I was a mutt. I'm also part Norskin, okay? I'm just continually muscular and growing.
Okay, you notice in that there, as you peer in, a woman with rather scanty, rather thin clothing seems to smile at you, and she says, "And what brings you to my home?"
I am just curious what is in the area. This is my first trip to your island.
And she says, "Well, I'm the best one here if you're so inclined."
I will look at her. How scantily clad is she?
She's a prostitute.
I was about
Okay.
to say, I'm fairly certain Tordane has figured this out already.
I will say, I think I have a man that would be interested. I will be back, or rather, I will send someone back, and I will wink at her.
She nods and says, "Fair enough."
Okay. Ben, you want to go?
Sure, I'm gonna talk to this guy with the wood and the rope. What's he doing when I come in?
He looks over at you and he says, need something to get your ship shape?
No, Morgul have extra rope. And I will pull out 10 yards of rope.
And he says, so do I.
Do you need more rope?
He says, how about we trade?
Rope for rope?
He says, yes, I see this rope you have is well worn and not quite the quality it used to be. For a small fee, I can replace it with much better.
I look at the big planks of wood in the back. You carpenter.
He says, that's one of my jobs. Yes, I collect lumber and sell it to the ships that need it. Is your ship in need of repairs?
No, Morgul good carpenter. He not need more wood.
He says,
juggle.
But how... You are a carpenter. Then how did you end up this far from the mainland?
On boat.
You're a boat carpenter. Have you ever bought boat wood before?
No, mostly wrong. Cracks too easy. And he will shake his head.
And he says, but not my wood. My wood is very special. You notice there are no cracks in it.
I examine his wood.
Take a
This
card.
is
That'd
just
be
adapting to the
a
idea
trade
of
for
ogre
carpenter
carpenter
check.
really fast.
You're a little unsure as to whether what he's saying is true or not.
It does not have cracks, but how it's special. It looked like normal wood.
He says, well, you know how normal wood changes when you pour water on it.
Margot
It
looks at him
swells.
blankly.
And he says this is treated to be in water.
How it treated.
It means you can swim with it and not have it break.
Margot can't be with magic wizards.
Izzy, does that mean you're purchasing the meal?
Yes, sorry. I was
Okay,
about
just
to
make sure.
correct that and send it to you, fair enough.
Is this magic wood?
And he says, no, oily wood.
Why oil stop wood from swelling? Oil is like water. Should it make wood swell?
I'm gonna test something really quick. So,
Oil is shrinky water, cancels out water.
Was
Have
that
you
cool?
ever poured oil on water?
No.
Oh, you should try sometime. It floats.
Margot will rub his mustache thoughtfully.
And this wood floats too.
Normal wood floats.
And he says, but does it? Even when it's as heavy as my well-gutted friend here.
If wood didn't float, boats wouldn't float. Boats bigger than Margot.
But the boats are made of boat wood. Don't you want to craft yourself a boat, Master Ogre?
Too much work.
A shame. Can I interest you in any of my other wares? I have nails.
Does my tradesman's kit actually, or tradesman's tools have stuff like nails in it, or do I need to get that myself?
It would probably have some nails.
Okay, so I should be good for any normal use that isn't building things.
For a while, anyway. Yeah, you've got some nails.
Alright, I look around. I want to find some chunk of wood that's like left over. Like the ends that were cut off the boards or something. Morgo
Alright, what
wants
do you say to
scrap
him?
wood.
And his eyes light up. Scrap wood. Yes,
Morgo
I've
trade
got...
rope for scrap wood.
He shrugs, and he takes the rope and sets it aside, and then he pulls out a few blocks of wood and wood shavings. None of them are bigger than like a human fist, but there are 5 or 10 scraps that he hands you.
Okay, Morgo will nod thoughtfully. Where you get lumber? I not see lumber on island.
He says there's some over yonder hill, but we also get some from boats.
Who owns yonder hill?
Well, that would be the prince.
Prince.
If you were allowed to dock here, I expect you work for him.
Prince.
you worship Ronald, right, Val?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. Margot will nod his head thoughtfully and leave.
You may or may not know this. You probably don't, unless you saw and understood the thing I flashed
Well-
at the other dude last night.
Because I'm Verona.
This will be.
That'll be a
interesting.
fun bridge to cross.
Huh?
That'll be a fun bridge to cross.
Yep. I mean, Tordain's not opposed to Verena. He's actually mainly worships Renald as the god of luck as opposed to the god of thieves, but...
I'm not opposed to Renault. It's people who use the excuse for their crimes. I like that part to be against.
Tordain has a very interesting relationship with Renald. But you probably don't know that he's a Renaldian, just as he doesn't know you're a Verenian.
All right. It's starting to get rather late.
Izzy, there are no beggars here. Not on this island.
That is a contradiction of the LAGM statement.
So,
There are some shady-looking types, but there's not any outright beggars.
I wanted to go into town because you got you.
this is the town.
Oh, this is the town.
This is it.
Oh, I was looking for another merchant for selling my stuff.
You would have to go to the Prince's Palace, and I don't think he's going to let you in yet.
All right, let me go down to this man's emporium.
All right.
I will walk in and I will just kind of take stock of his meager holdings.
All right. You notice that while he does not have many things, he seems to have some very high quality things. He has a really excellent broadsword that seems to be embellished with little bits of silver. He's got an above average quality warhammer. And there's a spear in the corner that at least looks to be average. On the shelves, there seem to be a number of unusual fabrics. And there's even an odd, like, crystal bottle with a little bit of fluid in it.
Is there any spice?
There's a little box that looks like it might have some spices in it.
Jacob, can you answer the question Izzy asked us? The most recent one.
I will go to the spice and I will just, well, no, I won't go directly to it. I will kind of look around and quietly go, and just look at things and kind of pat my chin.
And meander your way over?
And meander my way over to the spice. But I won't look at it for very long. I do want to do a check on it, though. What would I...
Before you can roll the check, Zelene, you feel a wiry grip on your arm and someone pull you back. And there's this little man here, and he says, "What are you doing in my shop?"
I was perusing your shop, of course, my good man.
You got coin?
I have a little bit here and there, but one thing I wanted to check out is, and I will look at him, what does this man look like?
He's kind of an old, crotchety figure. You can tell he's probably a hard ass in a lot of different ways.
I am looking for someone that I might that might know the island a bit better, so that I can acquire certain things for my crew.
He scowls at you and he says, "If you're here for idle chit-chat, you're in the wrong place. Either buy something or get out."
Do you purchase items as well?
He narrows his eyes and he says, "Sometimes."
I don't have high quality items to sell you. But you look like a man that can get them or sell them again for probably higher than what they are worth.
He has a kind of one of the corners of his mouth twitches upward slightly, but he still manages to keep frowning. And he doesn't stop you, but he doesn't say anything.
I will pull out the swords and the axe and say, I do not require the amount that the blacksmith required for them, but to be ingratiated to a man such as yourself that perhaps knows where I can get other things would be even more beneficial.
Roll a fellowship check.
Okay.
If you have charm, you can use that as well.
I will do charm.
I'm sizing up this man. Does he look like signs of like him being?
Damn.
Does he look like he's fought, or is he just sort of this big old merchant?
It's hard to tell. He looks more like the old merchant type, but there almost seems to be something ominous to him. Okay, he looks at the weapons you supply, and he frowns down, and he says, No, garbage. All garbage. And he shoves it rudely back at you quite forcefully, and he says, You want my advice? Put it on your ship. Sell it to your quartermaster.
I will nod, and I will say, is there anything that you do value?
His eyes glitter a bit, and he says, I value many things. Special things. And he looks around forlornly at his shop, and he says, especially things I could actually keep.
And I will say, I will look over at the jar of spice, and I say, where did you acquire that, if I may ask?
He frowns at you, and he says, a good seller never tells.
I will smile and say, I was, until just recently, a spice merchant, traveling many lands. I was just curious at where you had come by such a interesting product.
He actually smiles this time, and it's not at all a pleasant smile. And he says, oh, it just sort of ended up here.
I will nod and say, do you have any knowledge of an apothecary or a healer in these parts?
He frowns at you again and says, you want a good one? You go to the palace.
The palace belongs to whom?
The prince.
Does the prince have a name?
Yes. Jacob, what's his name again? He narrows his eyes at you and he says, you don't know?
As I said, I am a recent addition to your island and not here for long.
He eyes you up and down and frowns for a moment. He says, you're not a slave, are you?
No, sir. I will say those words with poison.
No. Pity.
Why, are you looking to buy them?
He frowns in your direction, Torday, and he says, I'm looking to buy anything. And he looks at the sword Zelene has and he says, that isn't garbage.
Good to know.
I say, I will kind of, even now, I can't do it. I can't sell slaves. No, I can't do it. I thought about it. Nope, I can't do it. And I say, is there a hard admittance to the palace?
At this he chuckles and he says, oh yeah, you'll find out.
I will nod and say, thank you for your time, and I will hand him a shilling. Just for a few minutes of your talk was very enlightening. I appreciate it, and I will do my half bow, my practiced half bow, and I will turn and leave.
He gives you a very suspicious and wizened look, but doesn't say anything.
Bourdain keeps his eyes on him as he backs out and then follows Zelene.
Also, PSA, the prince's name is, Jacob, you can pronounce this.
Can you just type it so I can spell it right? Interesting.
Musim.
You recognize that as an Arabian name.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I will see you, Izzy, in the middle of the street, and I will say, how are you liking this island, Lady Strauss?
I'm not.
I will frown and say, what isn't to your liking?
Most of it.
I will look over at the palace and say, would you like to perhaps go to a better looking part of the island?
I don't think there is one.
Well, let us see together, and we will ascertain that a bit more.
If you don't want to suffer starvation penalties, you do need to eat before you leave this part of the island.
I thought
Okay.
we ate on the ship.
Not today, you didn't.
No, they ate. However, it is quite late at night.
Oh, okay. I did not know this.
Yeah, no,
we
you
arrived
arrived
near
after
dark.
sunset.
Okay. I will come in here, see the ogre, and I will say, what is the charge for food, Morgal?
6 bronze thingies.
That seems a bit high.
I'm gonna
Feel free to
roll.
talk to the innkeep.
Morgal will shrug. You want to eat raw fish?
I'm gonna roll a common knowledge check to see if it's actually high experience.
Yes, that is much higher than normal. Like, strangely. The fact that people aren't rioting is a surprise to you.
Or, I would assume coming from the Border Princes, I know how to recognize a place that is held in an iron grip.
That doesn't appear to be the case here.
Other than the prices.
I will come in,
Wait,
actually,
is that too high? Morgal will frown and start glaring at the barman. Or the tavern owner.
Jacob, be sure you keep it in whisper chat.
Oh, sorry, nobody read that.
before we go in, after I'm told, or kind of before I go up to the bar, I'm gonna look at you, Tordain, and say, "Can you look mean?"
Tordain, his shirt so that all his scars are showing.
I will not. And I will come up to the bar and kind of slide into a chair and say, "What do you have prepared this evening, sir?"
He scowls up at you, but when he sees you, his face notably softens, and he goes, "Ah, new face. Well, we've got a little bit of, we've got some seared goat, and we've got some various, other supplies. We're making do with what we have."
Making do? Are you having a hard time getting supplies to your establishment?
Roll gossip check.
Okay.
Is there like a bouncer to this place, or?
All the guys in here look like they'd probably be pretty fucking scary if you tried to fight them.
No, I meant I was just
A
wondering.
legit bouncer? No.
Okay. It's
Ooh,
the sort of
gossip.
place where the clientele is the bouncer.
Gossip, I'm very good in. But not good enough.
Thankfully, it's an easy check. He sort of nods and he goes, "Alright, food hasn't been coming in as much as it should lately. Something's up at one of the nearby farms."
A single farm supplies your establishment?
He shrugs and says, "Most farms go straight to the palace. Our humble little outskirt here is supplied by local groups. But seems like one of them isn't sending supplies the way they used to."
When was your last supply?
He pauses and said, "Should have been here about a week ago. Should have probably been another one yesterday. Nothing. Not so much as a peep. Rumor has it there's some no goods over there. Other pirates. Scavengers."
I will look over at Morgal. Morgal, you're still there, right?
I am paying definite attention to this, and still glaring at the barkeep or tavern owner
My
as I eye
compan-
the size of my food.
my fellows, and I will kind of motion at the glaring Morgal and the lean-looking Tordain, could possibly investigate this for you.
He narrows his eyes and he says, "That would be useful."
All that I require is perhaps a lessened amount on the cost of your establishment's fine food, and perhaps a favor.
He narrows his eyes and he says, "I ain't giving you a discount on the food, because for all I know, you could just be a pretty face with a lying tongue. But if you were somehow to be involved and get food supply running again, maybe I can make it worth your while."
I will nod and say, very well, give me 3 portions of your meals. One for my friend there, and I will motion at Morgal, and one for my gentle-looking guardsman.
He kind of looks over at the ogre and he says, "The ogre will cost more just because he needs more, unless you're for some reason your ogre eats less than most have."
Well, he's already gotten one helping, yes?
Yeah, I bought a meal from him already.
Okay. He nods. He will maintain, unless you want to try and haggle with him, he maintains his value of it's 6 brass for a meal for humans, and it's 20 brass for a meal for an ogre.
What?
I'd like to point out that Morgal is twice
User left your
Tordain's
channel.
height, and like 6 times his
User
weight.
left your channel.
I didn't say he was going to eat well. He'll just survive. These are not great meals. These are avoid starvation rule meals.
I am going to haggle.
I'll be back in a bit.
You don't say.
Hold on. Let's see here. Okay. Why am I rolling like shit when I want to roll good? God damn it. There. 3 successes. Fuck.
What do you say?
We are very capable, but we need to be able to make sure that we can get to said farm without dropping of hunger especially the ogre, because he is prone to eat things that he should not. And a hungry ogre is never good for business anywhere. I would ask 5 pennies for myself and my guardsmen, and 12 for the ogre.
He squints his eyes at you, and his eyes, he kind of looks you over, and he seems to linger a few times, and he says, "Alright, I'll go lower if you make it worth my while."
I will raise an eyebrow.
He continues rubbing the glass in his hands.
I think the number that we have settled on is good.
He shrugs. He accepts.
Alright, I will pay all the monies.
Alright, so it will cost you a total of 22 brass. Is it being poor fun?
Yeah, loads of fun. Thank you, Sotek.
You're welcome.
What is 41 minus 22? Because I'm bad at
19.
maths. I will offer a plate to you, Tordain, and I will push over a plate to you, Morgal, and I will take my own.
He does give you a fairly solid, like, it's not a skimpy meal by any means. He does seem to give you a decent one. You can tell from the look on one of the men as your plate passes by him that, and the annoyed look on his face, that clearly you're being given preferential treatment.
Which of the men is that?
The one on the top.
What does he look like?
He looks like a very grizzled pirate who probably belongs to another one of the ships that are in dock.
Okay. Is this... is she a...
barmaid.
She's a barmaid? Okay.
No one important.
I will eat my meal, and I will, while Morgal and Tordain eat theirs, I'm going to go over to her, kind of, and go around the corner and say, "Hello there."
She stops abruptly, and she goes, "Oh, can I help you with something?"
You can indeed. Do you perhaps know the names of the other vessels in port?
She shakes her head. She says, "People are always coming and going here."
How about the men at the table? How long have they been here?
She shrugs and says, "Few of them, maybe a few hours."
And what is your name?
That would be our crew.
Her name is... 1 second. Her name is Hannah.
Hannah. It is good to meet you, Hannah. My name is Zeline.
She sort of gives you a small head bow, and she smirks at you, and she says, "You're a striking individual. Are you cargo?"
I am crew, presently.
She sort of chuckles and says, "Ah, you got on one of the lucky ships then."
I would not particularly say that, but it is better than being at the bottom of the waves.
She gives you a sort of a somber look, and she says, "If you saw how most women come into this port, you'd consider yourself lucky."
Is this place rife with living cargo?
She nods, and she says, "The prince will do anything to make money. He doesn't care."
The prince, he has a very odd name. How long have you been here that he has been here?
She frowns in consternation for a moment. She says, he's been here longer than I have. I've only been here for about 2 years.
And has he been the same way throughout your tenure here?
She shrugs and says, he's been hiring more aggressively lately. Rumor has it he's looking for stuff. That's why all these boats keep going in and out so quickly.
Ah.
Roll a fellowship check, or gossip check.
Okay. I am good at all the gossips. Except I probably roll like shit. Oh, I didn't roll like shit.
She actually looks around conspiratorially and then leans forward and whispers, rumor has it he's trying to take down one of the pirate kings. Replace him.
That is a monumental task, I hear.
She nods and says, oh, he's cruel, though, and wily. Nobody stands up to the prince and has come out on top so far, but he's managed to stay out of the way of the other pirate lords. That's why he doesn't live on the mainland.
How many vessels do you think he has under his command?
She leans back a bit and frowns. 1 second.
Okay.
She frowns and she says, I'm not sure. A lot, though. I mean, a lot.
And how is his rule here in this establishment?
She shrugs and says, he's pretty light on the fist, so long as you don't cause him any problems. But if someone causes him problems, he'll come down hard and fast.
Does he tax this place?
She gives you a bemused look and says, tax would be putting it lightly, but he tolerates us.
And you, Hannah, how did you come to be part of this place?
She gives you kind of a weird look, and she says, cargo.
That one, and I will motion, or kind of like half toss my head towards the barkeep. That one does not own you, does he?
She chuckles and says, no, he bought me, but I work here. He doesn't care much for slaves.
Interesting. Well, thank you for your talk, Hannah. And I will pass her... I will pass her 8 brass pennies.
Alright, she looks very surprised, and as you turn to leave, she grabs your arm, and she gives you a very serious look, and she says, what ship are you on?
The Wind Serpent. We just arrived.
She relaxes notably, and she says, oh, that's a good crew. They have a lot of enemies, though. You'd be best not to advertise that too much.
Enemies that are currently here, and I will look over at the bar.
She shakes her head and says, oh no, your entire crew would be out probably already swinging if they were. But you should be careful on the high seas. There are a lot of people that don't like that ship.
Is there a reason?
She kind of gets a devilish smile and says, the captain likes to insert herself into other people's business too much.
Ah. And she does have that kind of air about her, doesn't she?
She nods and says, they say it's bad luck for a woman to even be on a ship. But that ship, it's something else. They seem to revel in bad luck.
I will nod and say, thank you, Hannah. please make sure that you take care. And if you need anything while I'm here, please let me know.
She nods.
And I will leave.
So how many of our crew are in the bar?
Very few of them. A bunch of red shirts.
Did we see where the majority of the crew dissipated to?
No, they kind of all. Some of them, a good portion of the ones y'all actually know by name, went up to the palace.
Oh, okay. So Tordain will finish his meal and walk out to Celine. And then lean on a building and say, so, did you just hire us out as mercenaries?
Like I said, Master Tordain, I deal in favors. And that one, I will kind of... that barkeep, he has a greasy, undeserved look. And owning other people vexes me.
Do you actually want the favor, or do you just want to lord it over his head that you have it?
I want to release... those that serve him.
Fair enough. Tordain just gives a smile. Sounds good to me.
Alright, Margot will burp loudly, finishing his food, and stand up, then look at the barkeep and ask, how far away is farm?
He gestures with his head down south and says, just follow the shoreline. So, you can't miss it.
Time. How far away? Walking time.
Oh, at this he sort of squints his eyes and says, maybe 2 hours?
Margot will nod. And now that he knows he won't miss the boat because he's walking away to a farm, he will catch up after the other two.
Y'all hold on for a second.
Okay.
Channel
Damage.
switched.
To your head.
It's minus 12. Minus 12, minus 9.
Okay.
How's this going?
He just took 12 damage to the head when he was at 0 wounds.
Oh.
So he's rolling on the crit table for minus 9.
He's at negative 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're...
Yep, that's me gone.
Yeah, you're dead.
Alright, so he yells, that's for Tom and you bitch, and his hammer caves in your skull.
Okay, then. We will make a backup character at the end of the session, I guess.
I'm so sorry for the writing predicament I've caused you.
No, it's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to... maybe
Damn
like...
it. I say,
Maybe
damn it, now I'm
make a
intrigued.
less townsfolk murdering character next time? I mean, that's up to you. We're fine with it.
Hey, I was stuck with a character that wasn't suited for this stuff.
We appreciate you sticking to the character you had in mind. We're sorry it didn't work out. Okay, we can hop back up.
Okay.
User left your channel. Channel switched.
Jacob, you can just describe that they're literally walking up to that right now.
Oh, okay. Well, so as you walk into the room, you see there is the...
No, they're not. They're walking by it.
Oh, from the house you see some rather loud sounds and yelling and wailing.
I will peek inside.
Alright, as you open the door, you see the friendly carpenter in blue is entirely missing a leg, and there's blood pooling all over the floor, and he is pale and clearly dead. The blacksmith has blood splatters all over his apron, and the elf doesn't really have much of a face anymore.
What?
The elf is dead.
The elf is dead too. And the man with the hammer seems to be cradling the man with the man in blue weeping.
I will come in and level my spear point at him and say, "What has happened here?"
And he says, "That knife-eared bitch murdered my brother."
For what?
I don't know.
I will look at Strauslaeth and say, "You didn't get a response from her before you brained her?"
He says she was trying to kill me too.
Ooh, how mysterious.
Margot will lean over to Zelene and whisper, "I don't think she ate. Maybe she was trying to eat them?"
And he says, "She was from your ship, wasn't she? You tell me why she did this."
She wasn't technically from our ship.
Really, Cole? Then how did she get onto the island, per se?
She was
Cole.
from another ship.
That's a terrible technicality. And I was still on your ship, on that other ship.
He says, "You brought an elf on board. Of course this is going to happen. Get out!"
I am going to grab the ankle of the elf, and I will just drag her out into the street.
Okay.
He will make no move to stop you.
She remains super dead.
You hear the door slam behind you, and then you hear some strangled sobs.
And I will say, "Markall, can you pick up her remains and take her to the ship, please? Please do not eat her.
What?
Yet, at least."
Margot will
I'll be right
pick up
back.
the elf. "But what about deal I made with Carpenter?"
About deal what you made with what?
"He was going to sell me special wood."
Yeah, that deal might not be in the best place now.
Take her to the ship. The crew must be notified that this misfortune has happened and it is being laid at their feet. Literally.
Alright. I will walk towards the ship. Kind of just with the elf slung over one arm. As I walk, I will kind of rifle through her pockets.
That's what I was about to do.
And notice that there's no money and frown.
What did you have on you, Izzy?
Izzy left. He said he was back. But
What did Izzy have on him, Sotek or Jacob?
She had an axe of average quality.
I will take the axe.
You get axe, I don't get to eat.
Yet, Markall, yet. The crew must see this and be notified of this. And then, with their blessing, perhaps you may eat her.
All right. As you as you climb up the ship, you notice the crew is somewhat sparse. There aren't very many there. Garg is on board. The captain does not appear to be on board.
Garg, idiot, you left Joy and is stupid.
Oh.
And Morag will walk over to him holding the dead elf.
Garg?
Sorry, my mic was muted. Garg will scowl and grab the elf's body from you, and he looks up, pretty angry looking at the three of you, and he says, "What happened?"
We don't know. We found her in the presence of another man, and I will describe the locale, with a missing leg, and his brother cradling him and accusing her of murdering him.
He glares at the three of you, and he says, "You take her things?"
I have her axe.
He holds out his hand.
I will hand it over.
Margot shook his head.
He hands the elf to two crew members and says,
Is the axe bloody, by the way?
"Yes."
Okay.
Yes.
He says, "Take to Gustav." And the two crew members take the body and all of her supplies below deck. And then he turns to the three of you and he goes, "Captain will want to speak to you."
That is why we came back.
At this, Laszlo, the little halfling, comes out and he says, "Are the townsfolk going to retaliate? This is a good gig, and I don't want our ship to lose it."
Well, if you wish to contain this, the only other person that knows of it is currently sobbing and weeping for the deceased.
Garg waves a hand in annoyance and say, "No one leaves ship till captain get back. Prime cannons, just case."
I will.
Laszlo grits his teeth a little bit, but then he nods and starts drawing up the ramp.
Margot rushes downstairs to redo all the cannons.
Tordain follows Margot to help, I guess.
As you two try to pass Garg, he very roughly shoulders you both back and say, "No, you three stay on deck. Wait for captain."
Sir.
I will nod. I will back up and wait near the ramp. I will. All of my attention will be aimed at that house.
Is Rascon on deck?
Yeah, no, Rascon's out pouring, but Laszlo steps up and says, "I can go tell the captain."
Garg will nod and say, "I defend ship in case town get Riley."
He nods and he clambers rather nimbly down a rope and starts running off through via port.
Margot will sit down by a mast and start whittling a eye patch out of wood scraps while he waits.
I will look over to Garg and say, "Do you have a whetstone?" I would like to sharpen my spear and my knife just in case we do need to defend this ship.
All right. You're waiting there for what seems like a long time. Time seems to stretch. The moon.
Did you hear my question?
Sorry, what did you ask?
I asked Garg if he had a whetstone so I can sharpen my spear and my dagger so I can defend the ship.
Sorry, say it one more time. I was typing.
I asked Garg if he has a whetstone so that I can sharpen my spear and my dagger so I can better defend the ship.
He refuses.
I will.
He doesn't seem to trust you guys very much right now.
Should have just left the elf there so that someone else could find her.
Also, how did the guy know that she was part of our crew?
I don't know.
There aren't very many ships here,
Yeah.
and they know the crew of the other ship.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I know the only ones to pull into dock recently.
Alright, so after probably about an hour of standing out there, Laszlo clambers up on board and lowers the ramp, and the captain walks on board, and she has one pistol already drawn, and she shoots up into the sky, and she says, "What the hell happened?"
I will relay in detail everything that happened, so that we don't have to constantly say it over and over.
Well, to your knowledge, what happened, yes.
How we just found, we were walking by, we heard the noises, we went in to see what was going on, and we found the elf dead and the other guy dead.
She says, "So, your friend, this elf, just went out and murdered someone in the town that's hosting us?"
Neighbor, I would not go so far as to say friend.
We have no idea what she was doing. She left we haven't really seen her since we left the ship, man.
Do you have any idea how serious a violation of the code this is?
Which is why we brought it immediately back to you, so it can be dealt with.
Indeed, we wanted to try and get ahead of whatever nonsense that the blacksmith may spout about the crew. We brought her straight back.
So you're saying you brought this body, this culpability, back to our ship, with the blood trail leading all the way back up here. I saw it myself.
Would you have preferred us to leave her there
Tie
and
them
have...
to the mast.
I will nod and say, your will, Captain. We did what we thought was best.
All right. So a number of sailors come up with ropes and chains and tie each of you to a mast. And she says, "I'll deal with you later." And she stalks off in a huff. And she comes back a few moments later with the innkeeper. And she says, "I appreciate you being an arbiter here, Jacques. It means a lot to me." I hear there's been a murder.
Fucking Mike. He glares at you and he says, "You know how serious this is, Vitalis."
She says, "Yes, there'll be the full gold recompense. We'll take the hidden reputation, and of course the body will be returned to I don't know that I have his name. And of course the body will be returned to Claude."
He glares harshly at Vitalis and he says, "You owe us a blacksmith." Carpenter.
She nods heavily and says, I think one of our indentured servants beneath deck is trained in carpentry."
He points a finger at her harshly, and he is holding a rifle, or a pistol, but he points at her harshly and he says, "He better be. How are we supposed to make any money doing ship repairs without a good carpenter?"
She says, "All right, so a carpenter servant and a carpenter servant, 6 shillings, and these 3 lashed on the mast. Will that be sufficient blood?
He actually looks at the 3 of them perplexed for a moment. He says, "What do they have to do with this?"
I don't know. They brought the body back here.
He frowns, and he looks at Zelene in particular, and he says, "No, they were in my shop."
At this, she lets out a somewhat hissed exhalation and says, "Well, that spares my mind a little bit. An indentured servant and 6 shillings?
He pauses for a moment, and he says, "No, you owe us a crown at least. We're gonna have to buy new training, and we're gonna have to make sure the prince doesn't find about this, so he doesn't come after your ship. You've done right by us, Vitalis."
She looks like she's about to retort, but then she bites her own tongue. And she says, "A crown it is." And she pulls a crown from her coat and hands it to him. And says, "And we'll return the body, and we'll ask Tommen's brother what he needs."
He nods and says, "I'll deal with Tommen's brother. You're welcome back in port, but you fuck up like this again, you're out."
She bows her head.
And she points at he points at Zelene, Tordain, and Margot and says, "And those 3 promised me a favor, so I expect them to get it done."
She nods and says, "We won't leave port until they've accomplished it."
He nods and he climbs down and stomps angrily back towards the end.
She walks to the edge of the boat, leans over the railing, and fires her gun into the water again. And then puts it away and says to no one in particular, "Untie them in the morning and they can do whatever they wish." And she whispers something to Garg.
Garg nods and he heads below deck.
Alright. Alright, and I think that's the end for tonight's session.
Well, that was exciting.
That's one word for it.